All right, and with this chapter, we have chapter 49, Four Nights of Apocalypse, and it's self-titled Lancelot. It's really dope because we get like two color pages here where we have like one where we have like really just showing off Lancelot and his color scheme, and then another one which is basically the last page from last week, but just colored, which is still really dope to see. And this chapter, like, it was really just a big Lancelot flex chapter. Like it was just us really just getting to see like how impressive Lancelot really is, especially in comparison to like the main members of the cast. Honestly, this kind of reminded me a lot of when King had first like arrived in Seven Deadly Sins, and we got to see like how impressive he was in comparison to like the rest of the Seven Deadly Sins, being like Meliodas, Diane, and Bond. But that was for like he had his like sacred treasure. But in Lancelot's case, he's actually just a lot better than the rest of them just on his own. So the chapter starts with everybody just being surprised that Sin is actually a human, and with Fitted saying like, "Oh, Lancelot, I've never heard that name before." And I kind of like this a lot because it almost feels like Nakaba is taking a play on the origins of Lancelot. In Arthurian lore, Lancelot, while being the most skilled knight, he's also the most famous. And I feel like it's kind of a funny twist to make it to where Lancelot in this story would just be unheard of, because being, the leader of the Dark Talismans, Fittage should be privy to a good amount of information. So I think it's a fun twist to make Lancelot relatively unknown as opposed to like super duper famous. But basically after that, Lancelot jokes around, or it's not really a joke because he really does back it up. But he says the reason no one has ever heard of me is because anybody that has a run-in with me, doesn't survive. He kills everybody he ends up fighting. So there isn't really any rumors to be spread. And for this part, we get this like great moment with Fittage, kind of just like self-analyzing to himself, kind of trying to break down Lancelot's abilities and figure out where his strengths and his weaknesses are, trying to, I guess, figure out a way to actually beat him. And it's funny because once he thinks he has a plan, Lancelot steps in and he's like, "Oh, you finally thought of a way to beat me." And this is like, Fittich doesn't find out till later on this chapter, but it does go back to Lancelot's ability to read hearts or read minds, however you want to take the interpretation of it. But this is an ability that he did have in the Lancelot one shot. If you guys did not read it, he got this ability after he got into his fight with Tristan. It was back when like Bond and Lancelot visited the like capital, but he got into a fight with Tristan, and then ever since then he's been able to read hearts. And I like that he still has that ability. From what the manga says, some fairies do just naturally have this ability. I know King doesn't have this ability. Ever since he had hit his head and got amnesia, he like didn't like he lost his ability to read minds. But it is dope that Lancelot does seem to maintain this ability. Also, the ability to transform. I guess it's in a different area than opposed to like King or Helbram, who kind of turn into like gruffy older dudes, whereas Lancelot is he can turn into a fox. So it's kind of cool that we can see that he has lots of fairy-like abilities. But back to Fittish trying to analyze Lancelot, and then Lancelot reading his mind. This is when Fittish finally starts to demonstrate his magic, which is haste, which is a really simple ability. It just lets him make himself faster. And this reminds me of this ability that one of those other guys had. I can't remember his name. I think it was that I'm gonna say his name wrong. Like that guy, I don't even remember. It was the dude like with no eyebrows. I'll put him up so you guys can see him. But I believe he had an ability called Boost, and which these two abilities seem very similar. But Fitted just seems like a better version of it, to be honest with you, because that guy was like trash. But Fitted is able to move like super fast, and he does say that in addition to his magic, in conjunction with his body, he's able to like move like even faster than that. But it doesn't even matter because he literally cannot touch Lancelot at all. There's literally no he's not able to hit him with any sword strikes. Lancelot's not even having a hard time in the slightest, to the point to where Lancelot even says, being in my fox form kind of puts me out of practice after I've been in it for so long. So Lancelot is almost not even taking this fight seriously. And throughout the fight, he's basically dealing with Fittage with his hands in his pockets, able to see through all of his attacks. And this can be attributed to the fact that he can read his mind. So it's not like Fittage can ever really surprise him. He knows exactly what he's going for, which just makes the ability to read minds in a fight just like absolutely broken. If you can read someone's mind, you know what they're going to do, provided you're fast enough, which Lancelot clearly is. There's literally nothing that they can do to you. So after Lancelot kicks Fittage into the walls of the perfect cube, he asks him, does he know a knight with a star-shaped visor, which is interesting because this kind of lets us know that like there is something that Lancelot is after. Like he does have a goal in all of this. I kind of was wondering what his overall goal or role in all this would be, but he does appear to be searching for someone. I'm not for sure if this knight with a star-shaped visor is similar to Ironside, whereas this person killed someone really important to Lancelot. Like maybe this person had something to do with him in Jericho or him in the fairy forest, or maybe this person is someone that he knew in the past. Like it is very curious to know like what exactly the relationship between him and this knight are. And then he also asked, does he know where the Giant's craftsman Dubs is, which is really interesting that Dubs is being brought back into the story. For those of you who don't know, Dubs is the craftsman that made the coffin of eternal darkness that sealed the demons away, and is also the person that made the sacred treasures for the seven deadly sins. So Dubs is a relatively important person. He also made an appearance in the Cursed by Light movie. If you haven't seen it, I did do a review on it, so you can check that out if you want to. But Dubs is a relatively important character in the overall like grand scheme of things for seven deadly sins. But in the midst of all this, Fittich does realize that Lancelot is reading his mind. So at this point, he realizes he absolutely stands a no chance against him. So he absolutely cancels the perfect cube, which makes sense that if he has the perfect cube spell beat, he has the absolute cancel one, or he just kind of trap us, or you just be trapped in there. So like you kind of need those two beats together. But he does run away, with Selfenir. I want to say that's how you say it, with Selfenir, the horse, and they're like out of there. Like they're like haste that they are gone. And we get finally this last moment with like Lancelot borrowing Donnie's knife and then shooting this giant like light blast or beam shining road, and it just obliterates Fittich and Selfenir. And it's weird because this makes it confusing on which knight Lancelot is, because we all know for like it's like dang near confirmed that Lancelot is one of the four knights of Apocalypse. But it's kind of weird because is he the one with the golden colored magic, or would he be the one with no with no like set appearance, because he can transform, but at the same time we don't know if this shining light was golden or not. So it's like we could assume it is, but at the same time we don't know. So it's like, which of the four knights is he, and then which one would be the other one? Like we obviously know Tristan is the one with eyes with like good and evil in his eyes, referencing back to his parents. But which one is Lancelot? Like I kind of want you guys' opinions on that one. Another thing, as for what's going to happen next, I feel like in the very next chapter we are going to get like Lancelot, kind of talking to the actual group about what is even going on, because they're probably really confused. But I also really think we're going to get Pelgard, because if you remember, Pelgard was on his way to come check out this fight. So I feel like Pelgard might catch the very tail end. Maybe he already caught the tail end. I'm not for sure if he will like get himself involved. I don't think he's going to try to like actually fight these people, because Pelgard's whole thing is he wants them to get stronger and maybe use them later or something. It's kind of really up in the air with Pelgard. But I think he's gonna watch this and then maybe bring this information back to Arthur, because as we know, Arthur did just tell him just to bring back some good results. So saying that he discovered the second Four Knights of Apocalypse technically is a good result. So that's kind of what I think is going to happen. With that being said, though, I just think this chapter was like mad dope. Just getting able to see like a full showcase of Lancelot's abilities. Well, there's probably stuff that we don't know that he can do, but just being able to see like a more or less a good display of his abilities, and seeing how far along he is as opposed to the group, was absolutely dope. And the fact that he's just like was able to no diff the dark talismans essentially. So this chapter is probably like a 9.5. I want to give it a 10 just because like I was waiting for this. This is I'll go for it. I'll give it a 10 just because this chapter is exactly what I was waiting for a long time. So aside from that, make sure you guys like the video as well as subscribe to the channel, as well as comment how you guys felt about it down below. That being said, you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all in my next video.